Have you ever walked into a room with a clear purpose only to stop dead in your tracks because you suddenly have no idea why you were there? You stand in the middle of the kitchen or the bedroom, staring at the walls, feeling a strange sense of mental emptiness. This common yet frustrating experience is not a sign of early onset amnesia or a declining brain. It is a documented psychological phenomenon known as the doorway effect, a glitch in our mental processing that reveals how our brains handle boundaries. At its core, the doorway effect suggests that our memories are compartmentalized based on our physical environment. To understand this, we must first look at how the human brain organizes information into discrete segments, rather than a continuous stream. Psychologists at the University of Notre Dame, led by Gabriel Radvansky, have conducted extensive research on this. They discovered that passing through a doorway serves as an event boundary in the mind, signaling the end of one episode and the start of another. Think of your brain as a computer operating system that manages multiple folders of active information. When you are in your home office, your brain loads the folder containing tasks, tools, and thoughts relevant to that specific workspace. When you decide to go to the kitchen to find a pair of scissors, you hold that specific intent in your working memory. However, the moment you step through the doorframe, the brain perceives a fundamental shift in the environment. The doorway is interpreted as a signal to purge the current temporary data to make room for whatever might be relevant in the new setting. It essentially archives the previous folder to prepare for the next set of stimuli. This process is deeply linked to the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory consolidation and spatial navigation. The hippocampus helps us map out our surroundings and place our actions within a context. When you transition between rooms, the brain's primary focus shifts towards scanning the new environment for potential threats or opportunities. During this rapid remapping, the subtle intent you were carrying often gets dropped. Scientifically, this relates to the concept of event models. Humans create mental models of what is happening around them to help predict what will happen next. These models are heavily tied to the physical layout of our world. A doorway is perceived as a hard stop to one event model. In the brain's logic, because you have left the room where the thought, "I need scissors," originated, that thought is categorized as part of the past event and is no longer prioritized. Our memories are intensely contextual, meaning they are anchored to the physical space where they were formed. The sight of your desk or the smell of your office serves as a trigger that keeps your task list active in your mind. Once those physical triggers are out of sight, the neural connections supporting that specific thought weaken. The new context, the smell of food in the kitchen or the bright light of the hallway, forces the brain to update its internal map, pushing out older thoughts. Interestingly, research has shown that this effect occurs even in virtual environments. In studies using video games, players were found to forget their objective just as frequently when their digital character walked through a digital door. This proves that the doorway effect is not caused by physical fatigue or the simple passage of time. Instead, it's a sophisticated cognitive mechanism designed to keep our focus on the here and now. Another contributing factor is the concept of cognitive load. If you're preoccupied with a stressful phone call or a complex problem while moving through the house, your working memory is already operating at near maximum capacity. A single interruption or a change in scenery can easily displace one of those slots. When you enter a new room, the sudden influx of visual data, a pile of laundry, a blinking light on the stove, or even just a change in air temperature, forces the brain to update its internal map.
Is this a flaw in our evolution? Scientists argue it is actually an advantage. The ability to forget irrelevant information is crucial for mental efficiency, preventing our brains from becoming cluttered with useless data from previous moments. Imagine if you remembered every single detail of every room you walked through during the day. You would be paralyzed by information overload. The doorway effect is the brain's way of keeping our mental workspace clean and functional. However, for those of us who find it annoying, there are several science-based strategies to combat this lapse. One of the most effective methods is a technique called verbal rehearsal or vocalization. By saying out loud, "I am going to get the scissors," you involve the auditory cortex and create a stronger neural trace. This multisensory approach makes the information more resistant to being purged during an event transition. Another strategy is to carry a physical tether. If you need to go to the basement for a light bulb, carry the old burnt-out bulb in your hand. The tactile sensation serves as a constant reminder of your original goal. Visualization can also help bridge the gap. Before you leave the room, take a split second to imagine yourself performing the action in the next room. This preloads the intent into the future event model you are about to enter. If you find yourself standing in a room feeling confused, don't just try to think harder. Often, the best solution is to literally retrace your steps. Go back to the exact spot where the original thought first occurred. By returning to the original physical context, you are surrounding yourself with the cues that first triggered the memory. It is quite common for the lost thought to pop back into your head the moment you walk back through the door. Mental fatigue and lack of sleep significantly amplify the doorway effect. When the brain is tired, the executive functions that maintain focus are the first to degrade, making event boundaries much more disruptive. Stress also plays a major role. High levels of cortisol can interfere with the way the hippocampus retrieves information, making the remapping process much more chaotic and prone to error. It is also worth noting that as we age, our ability to juggle multiple contexts can slightly decrease. However, the doorway effect happens to people of all ages, from toddlers to the elderly, because it is a fundamental part of human cognition. So, the next time you find yourself staring blankly at the interior of your pantry, do not worry that your mind is failing you. Your brain is simply doing its job, organizing your life into manageable episodic chapters. The doorway effect is a fascinating reminder of the invisible ways our environment shapes our internal world. We are not just thinkers, we are situated thinkers, whose logic is tied to the space we inhabit. Our brains are not hard drives that store data in a vacuum. They are dynamic processors that use the world around them as an external memory bank. When we move, the bank resets its primary display. Understanding this phenomenon allows us to be more patient with ourselves. Rather than feeling frustrated, we can appreciate the complexity of the neural machinery working beneath the surface of our consciousness. The next time you cross a threshold and lose your train of thought, just smile at the quirkiness of your biology. Take a deep breath, perhaps step back through the door, and let your brain reconnect the dots. In the grand scheme of human evolution, a few forgotten items in the kitchen are a small price to pay for a mind that can efficiently navigate an ever-changing and complex physical world.